So now it's time to have our differential diagnosis list. We start with what's the most probable diagnosis in this case? What's your working diagnosis? What's your provisional diagnosis? Let's review. Bowel infarction. It seems that everything argues with the favor of bowel infarction. And the second most possible diagnosis is going to be acute pancreatitis. So we have two things that are most likely to be the cause of the patient's problem. Which one are you going to choose? Don't forget, what's common is common. Which one is more common? Acute pancreatitis or bowel infarction? When was the last time that you heard about a patient with bowel infarction? Maybe that was a long time ago. But acute pancreatitis, it's not uncommon. Therefore, I would go for acute pancreatitis as the provisional diagnosis in this case, because what's common is common. So my provisional diagnosis for this case is going to be acute pancreatitis. And then I should include 2 or 3 common diagnoses that can result in this epigastric pain and tenderness. So maybe gastroenteritis, food poisoning, gastritis, or peptic ulcer disease would be some of the common diagnoses that I would like to include here. Don't forget the don't miss diagnosis. The don't miss diagnoses are dangerous diagnoses that could be fatal if neglected. Like what? Bowel infarction. Yes, it is not very common, but it could be fatal if missed. And acute coronary syndrome. Imagine that this patient had a heart attack and he should have received some treatment for his heart attack, like some coronary intervention or something, and you miss time trying to examine the patient's abdomen. This could be very serious. So the don't miss diagnoses are going to be the bowel infarction and the acute coronary syndrome. And finally, the unusual feature diagnosis related to this new well around the patient's house is heavy metal poisoning. So this is going to be the full list of my differential diagnosis. My working diagnosis, or the diagnosis that I'm going to start working on it, is the acute pancreatitis, and I'm going to put for this diagnosis what are the problems that the patient is suffering from, and I'm going to put a therapeutic plan for these problems. The patient suffering from pain, I have to deal with her pain. The patient shows some SEERS manifestations, I have to deal with this systemic inflammatory response that this acute pancreatitis is causing. I want to relieve the pressure, I want to relieve the abdominal pain, maybe I want to put a nasogastric tube. So this is going to be my therapeutic plan, and in some conditions I can even include an educational plan too.